Jason twist.
Save, rebound, but wide. Darren Pang just wrapped him.
Can't beat the heart of a lion in Kelly Chase. Gardner is in alone, shooting. Pang again! What a glove save!
I know one thing. He's not going to back Kelly Chase up at all. Chase will fight this thing until he's absolutely out of gas.
A great play along the wall to start with, is keeping the puck in. Shattenkirk with a quick decision. Schwartz bouncing on the puck.
The save of the year. The absolute save of the year. Holy jumping, what a save this is.
The pucker factor down on the Chicago bench is pretty high right now, let me tell you.
The Blues have stuck with the plan. The push was on, and that leaves the sniper off the bar and in the net. And that is our drive to the net, and why wouldn't it be?
This is Chasing Pucks with Panger, only on NHLPodcast.com, a Lineup Media Group production. Now, your hosts, Kelly Chase and Darren Pang.
Welcome to Chasing Pucks with Panger on an NHLPodcast.com. What a great lineup we got for you today, Panger. We've got our guest of the week being Adam Oates, who had a time to sit down and chat with us. That was a nice little conversation that we had with him. Lots of stuff going on around the league. We're going to talk a little bit about the officiating, because we've had some questions about the officiating and maybe the direction of the officiating, because a lot of times their direction coming from the general managers, there's a lot to be said for what the general managers want, and them dictating in the conversation that people aren't privy to on which way the calls are slanted. I'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the aging of players. Talk a little bit about what is an age. When do players fall into their own? When does this start to slide as a diminishing of the career? And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then who are some of the guys that don't seem to get old? And we'll have a conversation about that.
Me and you.
We're certainly we're certainly a couple of guys that got away with as long as we did, no matter how long it was, and feel pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well, we're sitting right now. I mean, let's think about it. We'll give our listeners a little perspective on where we are right now.
Hey,
talking hockey. Speaking about getting old and talking about hockey, we're in the bowels of one of the great establishments here in St. Louis, O.B. Clark's. Yeah. I mean, everybody's been to O.B. Clark's.
Yeah.
I mean,
who gets to do a podcast
from the basement?
From the basement, from their office.
This is officially from their office, and so I know that we're getting old. That we're doing a podcast down here. I've seen a lot of things in my life. Not many have matched what I've seen down here in the office of the great O'Brien family.
No, you're right about that, and it's a neat spot because we get to go do our hockey show upstairs.
Yeah,
we can do our podcast downstairs, and hey, it all fits.
We need a couple of cold ones and some pizza.
I think they'd put a studio in for us.
Oh, that's a good call, right?
Sounds
there.
like a good idea.
That's good. Now, listen, you started off on right off the hop on officiating. I saw a couple of tweets that you had, because we do different broadcasts during the game, and you fired out a couple recently. I always look at you like I give you this stunned look when you send something out. Like, did you send that out, or are you thinking of sending that out? No, you sent it out, and you. It's interesting. And you know a lot about the officials. You have, and I'm going to say this with a great deal of respect, you've got a lot of great friends in the league. Many of them are officials.
Right.
And so you have that fine line that you can go to, too, where you can give them a little bit of a stab, having fun with them. You've been with them, you know them. But do you think they're in a really difficult spot right now with the way that the game is being played? And
I think they're in a horrible spot.
Yeah.
I think they're put in that spot by a lot of the general managers, and not necessarily what the fans want. Listen, first of all, I'm going to say this. I have a great deal of respect for the officials. I think what they do is a hard job. I don't think you should have to wait until the playoffs to have accountability. I was not a good player. I had to live with criticism every day, and I live with criticism when I do the show, and everybody's got it in their life. That's the vocation we chose, okay?
Yep.
Don't whine about being criticized. Every single morning I was on NHL Network, I'd get up in the morning and someone would be upset about something you said because you picked Pittsburgh over Boston, or this guy over that guy, or you didn't have the play of the week that should be this guy. I get it. If you don't have tougher skin, get out of the job.
Right.
That's the way it is. So I want to say, I believe the officials have a very tough job. Mm-hmm. What I don't like is two things. I don't like that they don't have to speak to the media right after the game like the players do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I don't like that they're being maybe not handled with. We don't have enough good officials, so you can't fine them or whatever. But I know if I was terrible, if I was horseshit one night, you know what would happen? I wouldn't play. I wouldn't get to play. That's how it worked. And there was lots of nights where I was. I mean, I'm thankful for my career, but that's the long and short of it. That's the reality of how this game is and how hard it is to play it, be involved in this game, and that's exactly what it is. So, whatever it is that that we can do to change any of that, I'm not taking anything away from these guys because it's an extremely tough job. But I think when you completely miss a call and it affects the game, I think there has to be some sort of recourse for it.
Now, you mentioned about the media accountability. It's happened only a couple of times, hasn't it, where there's been a call where, isn't it the Professional Writers Association that can ask for, they can ask for a referee after, let's say something really bizarre happens, and it's just a call that has just gone awry and everybody knows it, and they just need...
Like shooting a puck in with a broken stick in overtime.
Okay, that's a good example. That was last year. That was in Detroit, and it was just an abdicator.
Right.
Correct. And they're going off the air on NBC. It was a nationally televised game, and the play happens, whether it's...
and the guy I'm working with at NHL Network doesn't want to bring it up because he said, we work for the league. I'm like, that's the story.
Well, yeah, it shouldn't matter who you work for. No, that's true. It's just it doesn't pass the eye test. And if it doesn't pass the eye test, then you've got to talk about it. You can't hide it. But that was an interesting one. But why do you think every day it'd be just too much for the referees?
I don't think they need
if they were asked every day
to
after every
justify
game?
every call.
No,
but I think
do I.
I don't. I think they have a tough enough job. I think that their directive is to call more penalties. So they look for stuff that if it's not obvious, don't call it. Let the team play.
You're going to talk about the Robert Bortuzzo play.
I could, but I could talk about lots of them because my point is this. My point is that you have 20 guys you're paying on the team.
Yeah.
If you don't want 20 guys to play, don't give the referees that directive. Just say, let's just have a roster of 15 because 5 guys don't play. When you have all the penalties that you get called in some of these games, 14 penalties, 11 minor penalties, you're taking half the roster and eliminating them from what people like to see. Now, some people love to come and watch the goaltenders. That's their favorite part of the game. But other guys like checkers, and they like guys that maybe the fighter, which there's very few of now. Maybe it's just a skill guy, and 8 of those power plays are against your team, and that skill guy doesn't kill penalties. When do you see him, Panger? You don't see him then. It cuts his minutes because of penalties the other night from 20-minute regular to a 14-minute regular.
Yep.
Now, that's around the league. So for me, I think the directive that these guys are getting from the hockey people, I want to add that. So I know there's going to be some offended officials out there, but they really are. They're my friends, a lot of them, and they respect what I have to do, and I respect what they have to do. But criticism, we all get it all the time. Mm-hmm. We got it as players. We sat out when we got too much of it. We got it as broadcasters, and when we didn't do a good job, we were taking heat from somebody. But that comes with the territory in this game.
Okay, so we started the season this year. This is interesting that you jumped into this part of it because we started the season with everybody talking about the goaltending equipment's obviously too big, so that needs to be tightened up. And then many people said they're not calling enough penalties. So there's some that even suggested we got to change the rule that a 2-minute minor should stay as a full 2-minute power play, which I don't like that at all because of what you're bringing up, which is some of the calls are just so questionable. How can you ask a real questionable call that everybody knows it's not the right call, and that's going to be a 2-minute full power play? But that's another topic at another time. So the ebb and flow of what we're looking for to try to fix the game when we're in the middle of the season, isn't that maybe something we should talk about? Maybe this shouldn't be. Why all of a sudden did the goal equipment come up so bad?
Well, because they want more goals.
Because
they want more goals. So now we're going to have more calls. That'll give more power plays. Then we get more goals. Why is it the most watched game in the world? I don't enjoy watching it. Is soccer.
Yeah, where there's no.
There's
goal
1-0 goal games all the time.
Yeah.
Why are we worried about the goals? There's so much good that goes on in the game.
Because soccer people appreciate that part of the game. They don't ask for more goals. And the only people that ask for more goals in our business, from what I understand, are mainstream media. That start talking about
mainstream
goals
media,
versus
and
chances.
they get on the general managers and the hockey people.
That's right. They put pressure on them through articles.
We got to
and
change our
columns.
game. We saw two very intelligent hockey minds talking in the stands, and we got to sit with them the other day.
Yeah.
Adam Oates and Ken Holland.
Yeah.
And Kenny Holland says, who's always trying to figure out, I think he's a real thinker.
Yep.
And he says, Adam, do you like the game? Adam sits for a second and goes, yeah, I like the game.
Yep.
I wouldn't change much about the game.
Yep.
And he said, I kind of, I enjoy the way the game is right now. And he started talking about why. I'm intrigued by the fact that you have two intelligent hockey people that don't need to worry about adapting to every guy that has a suggestion in the media. To me, come on, and a few of the players now coming out and talking about how they don't like 3-on-3. They're not falling to the whole, the fans are up and they stand up cheering. I think it's exciting.
Me too.
I think it's, fantastic chance-wise. But they also thought, hey, that'll change too. We'll learn how to defend it, and it won't be as many. We'll see.
It'll be hard to defend against that, though.
We will see.
It'll
And
hard.
and you got to remember, when I have fun with the officials,
Yeah.
I'll send out a tweet, something that I think is, and last year I took some grief because I sent out, that the guys after that Detroit game, the guys had to have their jerseys back to Foot Locker by 5 o'clock, and that's.
I haven't been to Foot Locker forever. Is it still alive?
And then, of course, the guys were upset with me, some of the officials, which, I understand you're protecting your teammate or whatever, But I think if we sat down and talked about it, they'd find a different perspective on it. But the funny thing was a week later, they thought, okay, let's all die down. And I said, now I said, I want you to know, I want you to be clear that now the Foot Locker people are offended that I've compared them to referees in the National
You are
Hockey League.
so bad.
And,
You can't take Chaser too seriously.
And I'm having fun with
Yes,
it,
you
and
are.
I really am. But
Yeah.
hey, listen, we all make mistakes, and they're exposed and they're shown. And whether you can be critical, you have to understand people are going to be critical of you, and that's the way it is. And if you can do it in a fun way too, I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you. Hey, listen, we've got a couple of things here. Should we cover this right now? I want to say a special thanks to the Blues Lounge on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
okay, buddy?
yeah.
The Blues Lounge, they've really helped us kind of get things going here, and so we put a little contest. The winner of the Blues Lounge on Facebook NHL gift card, which is $50, is David Kraft.
Nice.
So David Kraft, way to go, David Kraft.
Way to go, David Kraft.
$50 NHL gift card goes to David Kraft. We thank you so much for partaking, and we're encouraged by how positive the listenership has been so far. An autographed Chase Pang iTunes artwork. That's got to be something else, huh, Chaser? Seriously.
I'm interested to see that one myself. I haven't seen that just yet.
We got a winner there as well, Adam Jones.
Adam Jones.
So Adam Jones is the winner.
Perfect. Okay.
So I like that a lot. Hey, you mentioned the media accountability from the refs. Can I throw something out here because it just happened the other day? We're in Buffalo. We're in Buffalo here, and so the media in Buffalo will know what we're talking about here. It's the first time that I've actually witnessed it happening, Chaser, where I've heard grumblings where, let's say the president of the Professional Writers Association, which is all the mainstream, the writers, they've all got their responsibilities and they've got their unions and whatever they've got as well. But a fellow named Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News, I guess in Buffalo, we didn't know about it at all because we're not there all the time, but I guess they'd had enough of Dan Bialsma being a little late after the morning skate. There's a certain amount of time. Is it 10 minutes or 20 minutes?
I think it's 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah. So after the skate, so the coach has to make himself available to the media. So we walked right into a firestorm, didn't we? This was great. So we walk in and we get into this room and I go, hey, has Disco Dan Bialsma, has he talked yet? And they're like, nope, not yet. And so whether it's Brad May that was there or Rob Ray or Brian Duffer and then the writers that were all there. And I said, well, boy, it's a long time. The Blues are almost off the ice. Yep, it's happened a few times. And I said, okay, well, I'll keep coming back. Hey, if he comes back in here, can you guys give me a holler? And so I want to jump in there and at least listen to see what Dan's up to. So I've got some good info for the game. Nope, not there yet. I go back over to the Blues side. Boy, they're coming off the ice. Hitch is already off the ice. So I'm thinking Hitch is going to talk. And I come back again, and I think it was Rob Ray that said, hey, you might want to come in here and listen to the first question. So Coach had just walked in there, and sure enough, right off the hop, Mike Harrington is over on the right side. He's very calm and composed, and Dan, addresses the media, and then the next question was basically, why do you not respect what we do as writers? We have a job to do. Why are you constantly late, consistently late coming out here? Dan says, I wasn't late. I had 11:45 meeting, and it lasted till this long. No, that wasn't good enough. And the next question came up, and at one point the PR of Buffalo Sabres said, hey, listen, Mike, why don't we talk about this later in the back room? And he says, nope, we're going to talk about it right now. And he kept asking Dan questions, and I think it might have startled Dan a little bit too. I was watching him try to answer his next couple of questions, and it was a little bit quieter tone coming out of there. But I've not seen or heard. I think most coaches and everybody's pretty good at it. This is the first time that I actually personally witnessed the heat was on. The heat was on. The pressure was on Dan for coming out late like that. So everybody has their accountability.
Well, everybody does. And actually, we talked about that with one of the general managers, too. I did. I said, I see somebody ask for an autograph, and the guys, they sign on whatever day they don't sign. And then we got PR directors that are there. What are you there for? Well, they're there to protect the players. From what? I mean, seriously. I was in a locker room for a long time as a player. I never one time felt like somebody needed to protect me from somebody. Don't say dumb shit, and you don't have to worry about it, okay? And the other thing is, and truthfully, it's like, as far as the coaches go, coaches and general managers in hockey operations people, and Lou Lamoriello is the absolute worst for not respecting how you market the game and allowing the media to engage with the players affects our game. I like Dan. I think he's a great coach. If he's consistently doing that, he is in the wrong, Panger. Because the media is there to promote the game, which is why Dan's making $3.5 million a year. Okay? That's how he got to that point. I watched Dan lay in front of Al McInnes' shot for $400,000. If somebody would have told him he was going to make $3.5 million coaching, he'd have gladly gone out and done an interview. Okay? So be respectful of the people around you. And that's the way it is. That's the way we have to handle the game. Promote the game. It's a game. We have to do everything we can to expose as many people as we can to the game. And how hard can it be? Come on.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
No, it's I guess there's there's certain guys that have sort of a different grandfatherly approach of protecting, or seemingly like they're protecting the players and making sure they've got their very best on the ice. I think what happens though in that case is that the players, they fall back on that too often, and then they don't think they have to do anything.
I don't want players to concentrate on anything but hockey. Are you kidding me?
The players are different nowadays.
The
players growing up playing midget hockey, junior hockey.
We've created that.
They're doing interviews on the bench before the game. They've got cameras going on in the locker room. It's a different mentality now than what we were when we were playing. I don't think there's many guys throwing up before the game, so I don't think they need that kind of protection as much anymore.
Well, that and the fact that I think the greatest example of it is when they were talking about NASCAR. They can have a camera in their car, be going 260 miles an hour,
and turning left all the time.
And and be talking right after, but we can't do an interview and warm up.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't like to do that. It's against my beliefs. I can't concentrate.
Yeah.
Come on.
And for the most part, and because we're
both
down there, the players can do it. The players all can do it. Even the players from junior hockey, they come in there like, not a problem.
The players are great.
They get interviewed all the time.
It's the people that manage the players that are the problem.
Yeah.
90% of the time when you ask for things, the players don't know anything about it. 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that probably happened a lot even in our day where we didn't know.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
And we would have done it.
But can you imagine the growth of hockey that would have happened with the great teams in New Jersey had they been exposed to the players like the players do in Chicago? Think about how the game would have grown.
The players in Chicago were brought back for many years. I mean, it wasn't until Rocky Wirtz took over the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying to you. Look what's going on in Chicago. The expansion of hockey right now in Chicago is astronomical.
Yes, it is.
With the cups they won. Well, if in New Jersey they would have been doing the same thing with the public outreach while they were winning cups, don't you think there'd be a lot more asses in the seats?
Oh, for sure. No question.
I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
No, we're on the same page for sure. I guess I go back to the different personalities. Lou did that to, because he felt that's the way they were going to win, and they won. If they wouldn't have won, then there wasn't a whole lot of argument for it. But at the same time, he was competing with a metropolitan New York marketplace, and that's where I think we both know this with Lou. Lou wasn't going to change, and I think Lou's a tremendously loyal man, just like Bill Wirtz was.
I love the man. I think he's a very generous person too, and loyal.
He is extremely generous and loyal. But if you could just sort of push them out just a little bit like that.
Having people engaged in your media, having your players engaged in your media, is not going to be the deciding factor on
When
you winning
losing?
or losing. It just doesn't.
No.
It doesn't.
No, because Chicago proves that.
That's my point.
And LA proves that.
That's my point.
Actually, LA proves that. Those
Yeah.
players are allowed to do, they have to sell it.
Everywhere.
They have to sell it. I'm thinking of teams that have just recently won, and their marketplace has really grown. I mean, LA minor hockey has really grown since they've won cups and they've pushed their players out. Chicago, obviously the same thing. Tampa Bay last year go to the Stanley Cup Finals, their big boy. I mean, that's an area that they're all working hard out there, getting the word out. Those players can't be hidden. They've got to be out there.
Well, if you're going to promote the game, and that's what you're hired to do,
Yeah.
and you expect to be paid,
And their
promote
owner,
the game.
And their owner, Jeff Finnick, one of the
Wait,
nicest owners
wait,
in the world.
You'd
and
like
just
a
done
little
lot.
bit more money from the owner so you
Yeah.
can sign a player?
Yeah.
Well, let's put a few more butts in the seats.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? Well, let's have Steven Stamkos actually show up to a few things. Oh, wait, he does. Oh, that's why we get the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cyclical, buddy.
It is.
It is. All right, Chasing Pucks with Panger. Back in a minute on NHL.com.
Podcast.com.
Oh, NHL Podcast.
NHLpodcast.com.
Did I say that, NHL.com?
Yeah.
Yeah.
NHLpodcast.com.
All right.
We're going to repeat it a couple times. NHLpodcast.com.
I'm going to get that in my head.
Chasing Pucks with Panger.
At Panger40, at Chasing Pucks 39. At NHLpodcast.com. Back in a minute. Here from the bowels of O.B. Clark's. Pang and Chase.
Hola, muchachos, my friends. This is the Ocho Man from the Ocho Man Behind the 8 Ball podcast. If you're enjoying Chase and Panger show, you gotta give our podcast a listen. We've got a new show every Friday with a great crew of guys that talk everything from sports, conspiracies, stock market, whatever crazy shit that we talk about. It's crazy. I'm telling you, you guys will love it. Find our show now on ochoman.com, on iTunes and Stitcher and all major podcast outlets. Brought to you by Lineup Media Group, my friends.
All right, with Kelly Chase, Darren Pang, I'm going to make fun of it again, Chaser, okay? NHLpodcast.com.
You did a great job.
NHLpodcast.com. We got it now.
NHLpodcast.com. You got it. Chasing Pucks with Panger.
We'll never screw it up now, will we?
No, sir.
You
Back
just-
here again.
You tell us once, Chaser, and that's it.
I'll screw it up. You won't. I know. You're the professional at this.
No, I don't think so. But I'm liking being down here in the offices of O.B. Clark's and listening to the noise upstairs. For just being after Thanksgiving, there's lots of action going on.
There's always action here, man.
I love this place.
There's a reason why.
Do you have any stories from this place?
I do. And I know we're only on a podcast. I'm going to keep them all to myself. All to myself. We get talking a lot about hockey, about how, trends in hockey.
Yeah.
And the trend now seems to be headed towards, guys not playing long into their careers and having them on PTOs. There are some exceptions to the rule and some really good ones, obviously. But just the extension of your career, I got to ask you, how did you know, Panger, for you? How did you know when you were, that was it? I mean, I know you had an injury, but what happens with you with your career where you go, I just can't, because I felt like I could have played. Well, I was fortunate. I was getting offered a contract by a couple of teams still, and I chose to stay in St. Louis. So I knew that I could play. I mean, I could at least get a contract. Whether I could play or I couldn't was an argument between GMs. But, I mean, it's a tough deal when you're on the downside of things. And to accept roles when you're great players and accept roles and responsibilities when you're trying to get a contract.
Very difficult.
And I see that with guys that are, they believe in themselves, but certainly have a tougher time putting their arms around the retirement.
It'd be easier for a role player.
Is it, though?
Isn't it? No, I don't mean a role player that's a tougher player. I mean a role player nowadays that can still skate, an old second-line player that can still skate and has some hockey sense. I'll use Scotty Upshaw as an example that plays for the St. Louis Blues, okay?
Right.
At one point he's a 6th overall draft pick of the Nashville Predators.
Right.
the ability that he has to skate and get around the ice, still has good hands, has good hockey sense, is not a 20-goal scorer in the league. He'd be the first to admit that. But he can go down the line a little bit and then go up the line a little bit. And that's what made him valuable for a two-way contract for the Blues. But a high-end player, top six. I remember when Wayne Gretzky was coaching Phoenix, Chaser, and you remember these days. He's the year after the original lockout of 05, first year with no red line. They're going to call every ticky-tack play, so you're going to go on 9 power plays a game. And Wayne Gretzky's coaching for the first time, and he had old, brilliant guys. Mike Ricci, I think, was an outstanding hockey player, but couldn't keep up with the game post-lockout. Peter Nedved couldn't keep up with the game post-lockout. Jeremy Roenick came on board. The same kind of thing. Still thinking that he was the player of the past when, in reality, he wasn't, and he had to succumb to a different role, but that was hard for him to accept. The other guy was Brett Hull. And Brett Hull eventually he retired. Yeah, 7 games into it.
Well, he said when Gretz didn't put him out there on the 5-on-3,
it was a 6-on-3.
A 6-on-3, and he didn't put him out there. He said that was enough.
That was enough. Yeah,
that's when I knew I was done.
I was on the plane that night, by the way.
He said I started with Tyson Nash on my line when he threw me when I was headed for a breakaway and he threw me a pass off the back of my knee. I thought Tyson Nash and no 6-on-3. It's got to be the end. It can't get worse than this. And he bugs Nasher about that all the time.
Didn't Gretz say the same thing? Well, wasn't Bill Berg Gretz's left winger when he ended it? And didn't he say the same thing? Like all these great players, they realize it. They're looking at it, going, "Okay, I'm on the board with who tonight? I'm on the board with who? Is my right winger and left winger?"
1000th game for Hully in Calgary, and Hitchcock put him with Sean Van Allen and Teddy Donato at the ends of their career, and had Hully playing right wing with them. I guess the guys said it was just comedy, and you could see it too, right?
No, I can picture it quite clearly.
It would be.
You could imitate it if you want.
It's
still not even fair.
Are you kidding me? I need someone that can get me a pass, 1,000 games, and that's it, huh? Oh man!
See. So I guess my theory is correct. It's a lot easier putting a decent skating guy that doesn't have that brilliant mind. They can go down the ladder and play in the bottom 6, but those great ones can't. They expect to be on the ice in critical situations and moments because that's all they've been their entire life. And I feel bad for them when it goes down this way. We've all seen this road. I was the one that went back to the plane, Chaser, when I heard Hully in the back of the plane. We were going back from L.A. to Phoenix, and I went back and sat with him. And I had a couple of nice cold Bud Lights with him back there because he was having a few. And I just said to him, I said, "Hully, you could be golfing every day." And he says, "I could be golfing. I should be golfing every day." And I said, "You know what? You should be golfing every day. This is not going down the right path for you. You're best friends with Wayne Gretzky, and this isn't a healthy way of going out in your career. You'll always be best friends, and you don't want this kind of moment to ruin those types of things." And all Gretz was trying to do is coach a hockey team.
Right.
He's just trying to get some pace to the game because the game has changed. And anyway, it was a good thing for Hully. He ended up giving it a try, retiring, and the night he retired, who's in town but the Detroit Red Wings? And jam-packed in that little wee press area down below at it was jobbing.com in that time, Gila River Arena. He was down there, and every one of the Detroit Red Wings boys were jammed into that little room while he retired. So that was great. It was great to see him with all his buddies. And
a tough day for him too. It's a tough day for everybody.
Yeah.
But I know how hard it was. I remember
to say retired. Say the word. I'm going to retire.
No, I remember. Hey, listen. I had to do.
Thinking of that
interview with KMOX online when they announced that I was going to be on KMOX and announced that. I had to put the phone on mute twice. I told everyone they weren't allowed to be in the house. I was walking around the house talking with the earphone on the house, and I made the whole family go out, and they listened to it out on the boat because you could get KMOX back home in Saskatchewan. Yeah. And I said, I don't want anybody here right now, and it was a tough day for me. Yeah. I didn't want anybody at the house that night. It was a hard day. Yeah. It's hard to say that you're done doing something you've done your whole life and that the only thing you ever dreamt about doing. Yeah. So, and it's going to come to a close, too, for some of the great players in there, but I want to ask you about them. We got Shane Doan, Yager, Chara, and Iginla, who are some of the great players that are left in the game that I think that have played, they've all played over 1,400 games. So, I mean, when you think about that and put that in perspective, that's phenomenal. How do these guys continue to maintain the level of play they are?
Conditioning. It's
Well,
only
Chara
one
is
way.
scary. Like,
They're freaks of nature,
they
Chaser.
are. They really are.
Well, let's look at the players you said. You said Yager. Well, we all know that Yager's individual training regimen is unprecedented, and I'm not sure if it's a love for winning or just a love for playing a long time right now, but he's given it everything he's got. He trains with a 40-pound vest. He skates with that 40-pound vest. We've heard about the stories of him in Philadelphia having a key to their practice rink in Voorhees and skating there at 11 o'clock at night and doing the same thing everywhere he's gone, whether it be in Dallas or whether it be in I'm not sure if he got the keys to the New Jersey practice rink or not, but just
He did.
He did. So just those things alone, and what do they say about the older you get? What goes first, the hands or the legs? The legs, right?
Yeah, the legs, certainly, yeah.
Well,
but
but his legs haven't gone.
Bernie Federko, he's got a perspective on it too. He said, "Hey, it's the hardest thing for me was knowing." He said, "My hands went." He said, "I was never a fast player, but knowing that I could make the play, knew where I should make the play, and couldn't make the play, really bothered him."
Yeah.
He
The
said,
play was there. He knew it was there, but he couldn't get the puck there.
But to be honest with you, I think that comes with your feet slowing down.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a better position, the game slows down for you. You know, when you first get called up, I had a hard enough time my entire career. But when I first got called up, holy smokes. And then when you got skating and going into power skating schools and doing more and more of that type of thing, you start to realize, you know, that that's such an important part of it and how the game will evolve. Yeah, that's what keeps all of these guys in the game. Their conditioning, but their foot speed. Things slow down and make it, you know, a better business part of it for them. You know, and I remember Mario Marois telling me at the end of his career, he just kept saying, the legs are letting me down, kid. The legs are letting me down. And, you know, he still knew where to play the puck. He was still mean as ever and tough as ever. But he kept saying, you know, the legs aren't getting the job done for me. And I, you know, and after a while, you know, and I remember when Garth Butcher retired, there were teams that still wanted him to play. And he said, amazing perspective on it. He said, I'm not going to cheat the game. The game's been wonderful to me, so I'm not going to cheat the game. What I'll do, he said, it's someone else's turn, and that's the reason that I'm leaving the game. He goes, it's for young guys. It's someone else's turn to have a great career. So, but I appreciate the time today, Panger. We're going to pop back with two little quick thoughts, and I'll be back in a minute here on Chasing Pucks with Panger on NHLpodcast.com.
John McCarthy has witnessed the best that the UFC has had to offer over his year.
Hey, this is Big John McCarthy.
And this is Sean Wheeler. Be sure to join us every week for Let's Get It On, as John and I bring you the inside view of MMA and combat sports.
We're going to discuss the latest issues, debate the hottest topics, and interview some of the biggest stars from the combat fighting arena. Plus, I'll answer your questions and always separate the fact from the fiction.
That's Let's Get It On with Big John McCarthy and me, Sean Wheelock, with a new episode debuting every Friday.
You can go straight to our website at letsgetitonpodcast.com. Get ready, because we're going to bring you the truth about MMA and combat sports. The real question is, can you handle the truth?
Well, what a great opportunity. I get to sit down with my old buddy and welcome back to town. I know you're in visiting and doing a little bit of work, but Adam Oates, welcome back.
Thanks, Chaser. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you're back in town. You're doing a little work. I know you're going to visit with Holly. I got to visit with you a little bit, but you're doing a little work. Tell us about the new career and kind of what you've been doing.
You know what? It started in the playoffs last year. I had a couple guys that I've coached in the league reach out to me, talk to me about their game. And then this summer, obviously the coaching gig didn't show up, and I formed this company where I'm working with players around the league on their skills, on their habits, trying to become better players in this game.
So you'll go in, take a look at a player, watch video, I assume, video, watch what they're doing, kind of help them with the skill set. It has nothing to do with any structure, the team play and that, because there's more and more sports that are going to that individualized instruction.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of got the idea from LeBron James, believe it or not, watching the NBA playoffs in the finals. he talked about how he has this guy that in between practice days, in between games, they go over all the kind of shots he's missing and how to work on it in practice. And because as coaches, you only have so much time in the day to work on the systems and work with your 20 guys. And these guys all like this individual attention. We're getting to that stage in our career in this sport where guys are used to individual attention. They start as young guys, they're having shooting instructors, skating instructors, they get individual attention starting at 10 years old. We get them at 20. Right. They've already had 10 years of this kind of instruction. They want private tutoring. So that's what kind of I'm offering right now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you've had the luxury of playing a long career, your Hall of Fame career, and then you got the opportunity to coach as an assistant and then a head coach in the league. Mm-hmm. Did you find that you would have liked to have found a little bit more time to just kind of to be able to help out those guys in the assets that you offered?
It's one of the things that you try and allocate that time all the time. Right? Because, but you know the schedule, it's hard. You travel, you play 3 and 4, 4 and 6. The guys are tired. They need rest as well. You got to work on systems. Your assistant coaches after practice fan out and they do a little details with the guys, but there's never enough time.
Well, let's talk a little. You mentioned systems. Let's talk a little bit about systems, because it's the structure in the game has never been more evident.
Correct,
you guys watch a lot of video. You're a coach. Your assistant coaches watched a lot of video. You put that into a system, and then you have to have a team concept. But there seems to be some times where I don't want to use the word, guys like me that would have used the personal instruction of a skills coach, and we had to learn from the guys that were on our team rather than the coaches, because we were playing a team concept.
Yeah, our generation, we learned a lot from the older guys on the team growing up, because that's the way the system worked. Nowadays, it's really hard because, the young kids have a coach that has to get certified.
Right.
Where when I was a young guy, my dad coached me or your dad coached you,
right.
and we just played the whole game and we played.
Holly coached us.
That's true, but that was in the pros. But you know what? So these coaches get certified and they work on systems and structure.
Right.
I can't tell you the amount of details that the kids are missing day in and day out, playing on their own, playing in the street, getting extra reps on their own. You watch basketball, the guys, the shooters, you see them work on the shots with the ball boys before and after practice.
Right.
They're not working with the coaches. They're getting their reps from the ball boys. Mm-hmm. Right? So what I do is I watch all their games. When they're in the mood, when they want to talk about it, I talk about all the little details that you see that maybe you can work on your hands, a little bit better positioning, how the angles, how the puck bounces. I kind of consider myself a power play guy, and all they talk about in this league right now is there's no offense in the league.
What do you feel about that?
I feel, they talk about the nets. I don't think that's what it is. I really don't. First of all, I like our league.
Right. I like our league too.
We talked to Kenny Holland today. Washington went into Detroit last week, and Detroit won the game 1-0. It was a fantastic hockey game. Ovechkin had 15 shots. You tell me that's not a good hockey game?
Plenty of opportunities, what you're saying.
Yeah, and I feel that the forwards have lost a little bit of identity on how to create offense, how to get points. And that's why you see a guy like Yager, who can still, if nothing else, the man knows how to produce offense.
No, there's no question about it. Now, and then speak to you about this before, but how would you, if you're changing it, what would you change?
The game?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has really figured that out. Like right now, 3-on-3 is very exciting.
Right.
I think a month from now it won't be.
You told me that this morning. Talk about that.
I don't, because I think players are going to figure out. Right now it's so new, they haven't figured out all the mistakes from it. Like if I go too far into this play, I can't get back. So my 2-on-1 creates their 2-on-1. And coaches are going to figure that out. Because that's all we do as coaches. You figure out every mistake in the game from last night, you're trying to eliminate tonight. So no matter what the league does, coaches are going to try and figure out how to stop that chance that just got on my goalie.
Right, right.
So that is not going away. So
is that why you're seeing 2 defensemen now starting in opening faceoff?
You're seeing that now. It used to be 2 forwards. Now I've seen about 10 teams go to 2D half the shifts because they don't want to give up a free chance.
Right. And they were saying that I think it was the first 13 or 15 games, the team that won the opening faceoff had a scoring chance. So if you got the puck off the start, it was almost a given you were going to have the first opportunity. It wasn't going to be a giveaway.
I think the first 3-on-3 game was Tampa, Vancouver, and it was electric to watch. It was just crazy. But the guys had no idea what to do. Right. It was just like breakaways like this. And you know what? They're going to figure it out. They keep trying to identify offense. It's hard. The sport is really good. The coaching's really good. The goalies are really good. We talk about that. I think not very many people talk about to the forwards how to create offense.
Right.
And what does that mean? What do you do to create that chance? So many teams are shot blocking nowadays. What are the forwards doing to prevent that shot block? What are the defensemen doing on the offensive blue line to see that puck get by the guys that are blocking it?
Right.
So there's all these little plays. One of the stats that I keep personally is possessions. How many possessions are you wasting as a team? You got a defenseman with the puck, and he sees a guy, and he shoots it, and it's blocked. That's a turnover now, but that's also a possession. That's getting out of the zone. But if that guy throws it behind the net, you still have possession. It's still got zone time in there. It's amazing every night. Offensively, we work so hard as coaches defensively. We don't put the same amount of time offensively.
That's true. Switch gears a little bit here. You get a chance to see your good friend, your line mate, and the guy probably you're responsible for each other, and maybe a little bit of a coming out party for you as both as players at Brett Hall. You guys have a great deal of fun when you get together, obviously, but you seem to relate to one another on all types of different levels.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and how that kind of come about.
You know what? Chemistry is a word that is so elusive that you're always trying to find. And from the day I met Hully, for some reason we just clicked personally. And our personalities, we're not the same.
No.
But for some reason we clicked. We lived near each other. We roomed together. We talked hockey every second of every day together. Maybe it was our age at that time. And obviously the years he had were magical. Magical for us to be a part of. And to be able to go out there every single night and watch him do his thing, because you know what, at the end of the day, he is the scorer.
Right.
And it's always my best memories of my career for sure.
You had over 1,000 assists. How many more would you have had if you just stayed with Brett Hall?
If we stayed healthy, a couple more.
Bobby Hall once said, if Adam Oates would have stayed playing with Brett Hall, there'd have been one guy shooting pucks in the net, and it would have taken two to get them all out of there.
I know. It was so much fun. I mean, even there was a couple games that people don't know where we'd have back-to-backs, and it was a violent game back then. And I remember we played Toronto, and Hully had a hat trick in the first 30 minutes, and we came to the bench and we said, "That's it tonight."
Why?
No more.
Why?
Because we got to play them tomorrow.
Oh, I see. So it's back-to-back against the same team.
Yeah, we didn't want to rub their nose in it because tomorrow night they might be after us.
He had a philosophy about that.
You could only do so much.
What would I know about it? I mean, I was sitting there for those times, but he used to say, I'm not scoring any more than 3, and you remember him saying this. I'm not scoring more than 3 goals tonight, because if I do, there'll be somebody checking me like they did to my old man.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that a lot where, and the year he scored 86, no empty netters. I know all that's been documented, but there was times in the game where we felt we were going to win the game, and we did not want to insult anybody because we weren't the toughest team in the land.
Right.
And
well, thanks.
No, but we had tough guys. But we weren't the baddest guys on the block.
No,
and every team has them.
I get, because I felt really small out there at times.
And tomorrow we got to play them, and we don't want to rub their nose in it because you know what, we'll get hurt.
All right. Well, you know what? The last question I have for you. You've started a new company. Yep. You're on your Adam Oates' performance company and skills. If Adam Oates had a chance to go back and coach, would you coach?
I would. As a head coach, yes.
Yeah.
Assistant coach, no. I had a couple of chances to be an assistant, and no, I enjoyed this more. One of the best compliments about being a coach I have right now is I got 100 players that call me.
Well, that's great.
That's the ultimate compliment, and I enjoy that. I really enjoy the feedback with them. I'm like a proud dad when they have success.
Right.
But being a head coach, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very challenging. It's hard to do, but if the chance came, I would take it.
Well, listen, man, it's great seeing you. It's great seeing a friend come back to town. You're welcome here anytime.
Thank you, bud.
All right. Pleasure.
Hey, guys. If you have kids who play baseball or you're a coach or an instructor, you've got to check out our weekly show, Youth Baseball Talk, powered by Baseball Youth with me, your host, Jim Cronin. If you love the game of baseball, you'll really appreciate that we talk to some of the top experts about everything to do with youth baseball, including St. Louis Cardinals' own Mike Matheny, former #1 overall pick and Major League Baseball player Andy Benes, and some of the best national instructors like Matt Lyle, Justin Stone with the lead out of Chicago, and my good friend Steve Springer, as well as some of the best teams from across the country telling us how they do youth baseball. Find our show at youthbaseballtalk.com, through iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and anywhere else that you would get your podcast. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of Chasing Pucks with Fanger.
Chasing Pucks with Panger and Kelly Chase, Darren Pang here on NHLpodcast.com. I want to keep going on that part of those players. So we touched on the older players, Chara, Doan, Iginla, and Yager. What do they have in common? Great dedication to the conditioning part of the game. Somehow their hands are still able to, to find the seams and to, time the one-timers. I mean, Jerome Iginla is still a threat on the half boards with that one-timer. Chara is still a threat in front of the net and still has a bomb from the point. Yager just kind of continues to roll, even though he slows it down, but he makes plays. He can still get there. Shane Doan's kind of an old workhorse, isn't he? He's the only one of the three. Do you know that? Oh, no, actually, Yager and Doan don't have a contract for next year, so that'll be interesting, Chaser, to see if they continue on. But it brings me to something I mentioned to Doug Armstrong today, the general manager of the Blues. I just said to him, we were talking about two-way deals. Tyler Kennedy just got a two-way deal. Dinah Zubris, who was in St. Louis's camp on a PTO, got a two-way deal. So Doug Armstrong says he's talking about his influence in the two-way deals. And I said, yeah, you already have a nickname in the NHL. It's 600-200. Because that's the kind of deal that he got Scotty Gomez, Scotty Upshaw into two-way deals. Last year he got Chris Butler, I believe, in a two-way deal.
He did.
And so now that's the new nickname of Doug Armstrong. So that's going to stick. 600-200.
6 over 2.
What did you guys used to call? Because I never got to 1,000 games, but the guys that walked into the league at the very beginning in 1,000. No, guys that acted like they've been in the league 10 years and played 1,000 games.
Yeah, 10 and 1.
Okay, so I asked this question then. I ask this question now. Will that slightly go away, the two-way deals? The players are worried about them. Entry-level deals, guys that are right now. I mean, Scotty Upshaw last year made $3 million on a 4-year, the fourth year of a 4-year deal, and goes to a two-way deal, okay? So I asked one of the players on the Blues, it was Jay Bomeister, and I just said, well, do you think that's the way it's going to go? And he said, think of expansion. We're going to add 2 more teams. So those players this year that got the 600-200, they're now going to sign 3-year deals worth $2.5 million again. So it's going to pop up again because you're going to have 50 NHL contracts that each expansion team is going to have to sign players to.
Right, but I think
if we get into the expansion,
what
in
I
the next
think will
couple of
happen
years.
is that the one thing that they're figuring out is it's all the way it kind of was when I came in the league in the late 80s, where rather than pay a guy a whole bunch of money, they'll take a young guy that can skate fast, and they'll see if he can play. Mm-hmm. I mean, quick young players that aren't quite educated on the game enough,
they can still chip it in.
Right. And then we went into that whole leave them in the minors, we'll let them develop, we'll pay the older guys. Well, that's gone on for long enough where, we're building in the minors, but now these young guys are all, and it's like they came in spurts. Look at all the young guys in Nashville. Look at all the young guys in Detroit that are taking over. St. Louis has had an evolution of players. They're starting to do that in Toronto. Mm-hmm. A lot of that has evolved already.
Yep. San Jose's done that.
Right.
LA's done that.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that, those players that you talked about in their contracts certainly will change. But I think one of the interesting things about the game is that guys are starting to take less money to get the years in their pension. For those of you that don't understand how the pension works, for every
Very
year,
good point.
For every year, the pension, you play in the league, you get $20,000 for the rest of your life. Okay? So if you played 10 years in the league, you get $200,000 based on the new pension from 52 for the rest of your life. I understand that to be the pension. Now, maybe somebody will send me in and say that's not correct. Yeah. But from what I understood
from the new
players,
agreement, that's what it is?
The new agreement. So guys want to get an extra 2 years, an extra 3 years. They'll drag it out and take less money knowing
to get the term.
The end game is the term when your feet are up.
Yeah.
So a lot of players are starting to do that, and I think that's an interesting perspective to look at.
I do as well. This is just a random information thing, and it's not highly calculated. It's just a conversation with a GM around the league. What age do most GMs feel that a player's offensive output level of play is going to drop off? So the age that was thrown at me was 32.
I was going to say 32.
Okay,
yeah.
So 32. So there was one player that was an exception to that. Had his best year in the NHL. Talk about a freak of nature, conditioning-wise. Best year was after age 36, and he just retired last year. Marty St. Louis. So one guy actually had his best ever season beyond the age of 32. Now he won, a Stanley Cup under that age. He obviously won a Hart trophies and MVP, but then he had his very best year after that.
And coincidentally, it was in an option year, wasn't it?
Yep, and then he dropped off.
Right.
Obviously, he's retired. I mean, he went from that big trade with Tampa Bay to New York Rangers, played 1 year, the half of that year, or whatever, the trade deadline part, played the next year and was done.
Right. Right.
So not very many.
No, you're right. Huh? Well, folks, you can find us on NHLpodcast.com. On Twitter, it's at NHL Show. Facebook, facebook.com/ NHL Show. Email in any information that you need to info@NHLpodcast.com. So you go to iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or any of the major podcast outlets, click subscribe, and leave us a 5-star rating and help us out with the reviews. And you can check out any of the other lineups that we have on our Lineup Media Group shows. Ocho Man, Behind the Eight Ball.
Ocho Man.
You're on the clock. Let's get it on with MMA. Big John McCarthy, Sean Wheelock, and you can check it out at lineupmediagroup.com. lineupmediagroup.com. So we appreciate your time. We're going to come back with 2 more quick little bites. One, our what? Really, dude? What? Segment, and our tweet of the week, which, by the way, I'm taking credit for.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so you got tweet of the week, and what about our 3 calls of the week as well?
Got them nailed down, and we'll be back. We'll be back.
Scores!
Back in a bit. Darren Pang, Kelly Chase, Jason Pucks with Panger.
This is Lineup Media Group. Perfection in podcasting.
Back we are with NHLpodcast.com. Kelly Chase and Darren Pang here. Chasing Pucks with Panger on our Twitter handle, and that'll come right up there. And it's been great getting some feedback on Chaser. A lot of people they'll sit around, they'll get on the bike, they'll do a little workout, put on the old earbuds, and listen in. We got to give them some entertainment.
We love it.
You've sworn 3 times so far in this one too.
Have I?
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
They said I could.
Yeah, they did. They did. And of the 2 guys that was
13 years and 15 years of
in broadcasting, never swore.
I haven't done it.
Speaking of that, can I just add this here?
Yeah, you can. You can add whatever you want. It's your show.
You know what? when I do the warm-up interview for Fox Sports Midwest on the pregame show, sometimes you just foul it up, huh? I kind of fouled up last week. Okay, I shouldn't be repeating it because now it brings attention to it. But when I said to Paul Stastny, not Peter, it was Paul Stastny, who's returning after missing 15 or 16 games. Mm-hmm. I knew that they had some great chemistry with Steen and Tarasenko, and they have great chemistry. But I didn't mean to say that. Is it comfortable knowing that you've had great success? Sex came first. Success came second. I meant to say success, and I said sex. And, of course, a lot of people out there on social media had a lot of good fun with it. They said that those guys are really close, aren't they? I said they're really super close. The boys on the plane and on the, you go to the locker room, you get on the plane, and then the guys hear it because they're all on social media.
Right.
And then when Steen comes back and he is howling, he couldn't help himself with how close they all are together.
I love it. Boys loved it.
Stastny went along with it pretty good too, didn't he?
Well, here's the tweet of the week.
Okay.
Tweet of the week. Bortuzzo could have passed gas on this play, and Wes McCauley was calling a penalty. Now, I tweeted that in fun, but the whole time, Tim, there's 2 things that happened. The number on Bortuzzo's back, because if that would have been a better player, I don't think it would have been a penalty. I believe that. And secondly, there is absolutely no reason to call a penalty on that play when all he did, he punched on the back of the kid's elbow with one hand and swung his stick around and knocked the puck from the other side and got a holding penalty. Now,
wait a second.
I think the directive of the league was to make sure they call him. You see, and more guys point to center on penalty shots. Guys, when they're completely open, you can't touch them now. It's still hockey.
Yes, it is.
And these poor referees they're having to call crap.
So you're using your own tweet
I am.
In a self-serving manner, aren't you?
In a self-serving manner.
Seriously, you are. You had an agenda coming into this with that.
Well, you didn't have anything prepared. Serves you right. You'll be better prepared next week, won't you? Chasing Pucks 39. You can catch it there.
There's the
with
tweet.
The replay.
Okay. And with the replay.
replay.
But when you click on to at Chasing Pucks 39, go down the thread too. Make sure you read in there because Pass and Gas was a good one.
There are some good ones in there, man. All right, listen, we're going to get one more plug in. This isn't a shameless plug.
No, it's
this
not. Never is.
No. This is how we do it. Listen, there's lots of things that happen throughout the show to help pay the bills, but for the listeners that are listening to our podcast, Audible is offering a free audio download, free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out the services. So go to audiobook for your audio download, a free audio book at audibletrial.com/NHL. Again, that's audibletrial.com/NHL for your free audio book. audibletrial.com/NHL. There you have it. We got our Dude Really segment, and we happen to be in Pittsburgh this week, and we got a little tip off before it was said that Matthew Barnaby was going to go on the air and say on Sirius that there was a rift between owner Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby.
We got tipped off. Yeah,
we did. We did. But the Dude Really segment for me is there a point in that?
No.
No,
from our old buddy Barney?
Yeah.
No, not really. To come out and say that, just to say that?
Like, it's not like
he's standing by it, huh? He even came on afterwards on Twitter and said, "I'm standing by what I said."
No question. I don't. We all know that it's not exactly warm and fuzzy. He's not living at Mario's house anymore. He's got a life going on around him.
He's paying his own bills. He's got his own house.
Right. but to feel like they're fighting about something, I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
Both very quiet guys, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I got to know Mario. I played some golf with Mario. He's got a quiet presence about him. When he says something, everybody listens to what he's saying. He's a really unique individual. We've been around Sydney. Same thing. A real quiet guy. He lives his own life. Doesn't really like to get out there. But going back to Barney, I guess I put myself in those shoes, and we have been in those shoes before. To say to yourself, when you say it, is this going to be, is this something just to get a little attention going on? Is it something you're going to stand by? Do you think Mario's going to say, yes, you're right, Sidney Crosby and I have broken up. We're not friends anymore. Or do you think, Sidney's going to stand up and say, yep, you're right. For everything Mario's done for me, yep, you're right, we're not friends anymore. So I'm just not sure why this was put out there or brought to the attention of the public. A guy like Mario, it's known, or at least it's been told to us, that he's wanting to sell his portion of that team. He's done everything for that team. He's Superman. He was Superman on the ice. He was Superman off the ice. He went door to door with a briefcase to make that franchise live. Do you know at one point that the old owner, Allen out in Portland, offered Mario $16 million. It was going to be in his account. $16 million because it was 50 cents on the dollar. The franchise was worth, let's say, $32 million, or Mario's stake was $32 million.
That's what it was.
And he was going to give him 50 cents on the dollar. There's $16 million. I'm taking your team to Portland. And Mario went, thought about it. That's $16 million that's going to be in your account.
Right.
Life's okay.
Right.
But the legacy of Mario wasn't going to be okay, and the legacy of the Pittsburgh Penguins wasn't going to be okay. And he went door to door to make that happen. And did they get a break with Sidney Crosby at number 1 overall in 05? Of course they did. They got a new building to show for it. A beautiful building, by the way. I mean,
they did an unbelievable, and they take such pride in keeping that place so clean. And
how about the 66 room?
I know.
Beautiful. Fantastic. As you go down ice level, the Penguins go from their locker room right to the ice level.
It's like the Sub-Zero lounge they have in St. Louis.
Yep.
And the lounge that they have in Edmonton. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
really is. Really cool.
Really cool. And anyway, I guess going back to your question, that's our Dude Really. And Barney would like. You know what? We should have.
We'll get Barney on.
Yeah, we'll get Barney on that because he loves it. He loves a good battle.
He likes to chirp a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That was a good Dude Really one because that really caught a lot of people's eye. That caught Wayne Gretzky's. He heard about it.
Everybody was.
Rick Talk was his buddy. Gretz calls Talk. Hey, look out! This is coming your way.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
My goodness. Well, listen. I don't like you anymore. Chaser, that we're breaking up.
Dude, really? It's our Dude Really segment of the week. Back in a minute here. And you know what we're going to have? Let's go to them right now. The top 3 calls of the week. Here you have it on Chasing Pucks with Panger. Top 3 calls of the week. Let it rip.
3-on-3. Bolesky to the other end. Curls away from Zetterberg. All 3 Bruins in the attacking zone. Colin Miller's got scores with Toronto on the doorstep tip. The Bruins, against all odds and hockey justice, turn the tables on the Red Wings.
Mark Stone's got a 3-point night out there with an empty net. Still almost 2 full minutes to work. Shot, rebound, Ben. Oh, what a save! Anderson across, a glove stop, and the puck sent into the net. What a turn of events! Craig Anderson with an amazing stop off J.B. Benn, and that's going to do it.
Zetterberg starts along with Cronwall and Larkin.
Oh boy.
Back is Klefbom. Larkin to Cronwall. The shot. He scores! Game over! Red Wings win
4-3. Well, another edition of Chasing Pucks with Panger here on NHLpodcast.com. Darren Pang and Kelly Chase. Another fine week. Podcast extravaganza, I would believe. And it's the first time that we've done a show at the bottom of a bar and not at the top of the bar. We're at O.B. Clark's in the basement.
We've done lots of them at the bar.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We usually up at the bar, not down to the bar. Okay, next time we go up to the bar, and we just do it up there.
Much quicker to the keg room here. Hey, another great week.
Yep, great job, Chaser. You brought a lot to the people this week.
I got to tell you, this is. I'm liking this a lot. You know, I mean, I like sitting here talking hockey with a microphone.
I know you do.
It's weird.
Yeah. I'll see between the benches this week. How's that sound?
That sounds like a plan, my friend.
Okay, buddy.
And we'll be back next week. We're going to have some good audio. I think we're maybe getting a chance to talk to John Davidson tomorrow. So
sounds good.
We'll get some audio from him. A good story about
about
the boys. Hey, stay tuned. If he'll let it out, we got a fantastic story about a Clydesdale being inside his house at a party.
Sounds good. See you next week.
Happy
post-Thanksgiving.
Huh? All right.
Okay.
Happy.
This has been Chasing Pucks with Panger, a Lineup Media Group production. Find the show online at NHLpodcast.com, plus on iTunes, Stitcher, and all major podcast outlets. Get access to all of the Lineup Media Group shows at lineupmediagroup.com.